opportunity, in fact, for right at 100 years, because in 1920, the Rockefeller came down and opened the wildlife refuge down in Cameron Parish, and they have been an important part of our state for many, many years. I want to thank all of you for being here this morning, especially Congressman Garrett Graves, who's here, Mayor Mitch Landrieu is here as well, and I want to thank you for not just being here, but for what you do, the purpose for which you are all gathered. And certainly it's my pleasure to welcome you to New Orleans and to ResCon, which, you know, we always have to call something other than by their real name, the Resilience Conference, but ResCon 2017. And for those of you who might be a little bit behind times, Mardi Gras was last week. But you can have a good time in New Orleans all year round. And get ready, because next year, New Orleans turns 300 years old. And it is going to be a party from the first of the year all the way through. So make sure that you come back. I'm sure that the mayor would love to have you back multiple times. Look, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to resiliency around the world, but here in the United States, there's not a more appropriate place than Louisiana. And in fact, resilience has been at the heart of many speeches I've been given over the past year. I've been governor now for just about 14 months. And this is a frequent topic, whether it's the spirit of the people here in Louisiana in the wake of historic flooding, devastating tornadoes. Just February the 7th, we had the strongest tornado ever in New Orleans, hit down in New Orleans East, a community that's still recovering from Hurricane Katrina. But also with respect to hazard mitigation to protect our communities from future disasters, or restoring Louisiana's incredible coastal wetlands. So I'm excited today to share with you some ways that Louisiana is leading the charge to create new models for community resilience. And again, not only for Louisiana, but for the rest of the country and indeed for the rest of the world. The knowledge and expertise that's going to be developed here will become exportable commodities as we fully develop into a center for best practices to deal with water issues. And in Louisiana, there certainly is no time to waste. We can never predict when the next hurricane is going to hit, but we know that it will. We don't know when another flood's going to occur, but we know that it will. And every day, citizens are affected by our catastrophic land loss, whether it's a community that must relocate, a business struggling to obtain insurance, or just part of our culture, part of our history, washing away. The Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, the CPRA, has done a great job of using incredibly sophisticated data to pinpoint new and best practices for addressing our ever-changing ecosystem. And the Louisiana Coastal Master Plan takes an honest, scientifically driven approach to chart a path forward. And in fact, this plan will be presented to the legislature later this spring, because it's time for our 5-year update. And it envisions spending $50 billion over 50 years for restoration and protection activities that are so incredibly important for our state. We haven't identified $50 billion. We have identified a lot of projects that add up to more than $50 billion. But we know that this is a science-driven plan. This is a one-of-a-kind approach in the country, and we're very proud of it. It is our plan to protect our future. But you know, bold plans cost money. I just told you it's resource constrained, and so we don't plan to spend more than $50 billion, although we would like to. But you also have to set priorities, and that's why, despite inheriting the largest budget deficit in the history of the state of Louisiana, which that deficit was $2 billion for the current year, my administration has kept coastal money for coastal projects. We have not raided those funds and diverted them to other necessary uses. I'm also very grateful for federal investments that will expand upon and multiply the extraordinary work that's underway by CPRA through the Coastal Master Plan. And one such program that I am extremely excited to announce today is Louisiana Strategic Adaptations for Future Environments. And because that is such a mouthful, we just call it LA-SAFE, which is funded through HUD resources made available through the National Disaster Resilience Competition. LA-SAFE is rooted in the work of the Coastal Master Plan and acknowledges that adaptation and restoration and protection must go hand in hand. This is especially important considering that a few of our most vulnerable coastal communities will need to contemplate resettlement over the next 50 years, while others are likely to experience population and economic contraction as a result of ongoing land loss and sea level rise. And in fact, most troubling to me as governor is just a few years ago, I remember sitting in briefings and they talked about the best case scenario, the worst case scenario. In many cases, what we're looking at today is the worst case scenario from a few years ago is the most likely scenario that we face going forward. And this is disconcerting, and what it establishes, without a doubt, is that we are in a race against time in Louisiana. And we have to have a sense of urgency about coastal restoration and protection. And LA-SAFE is going to help. It's going to address community growth, contraction, and resettlement through a community-led process, outlining how conditions have changed in the past and how we anticipate that they will change going into the future. The $96.2 million award from HUD has allowed us to develop plans and policies initially for 6 parishes. They are St. Tammany, Jefferson, Plaquemines, Terrebonne, Lafourche, and St. John the Baptist. And $40 million of the 92.6, $40 million will specifically be dedicated to LA-SAFE. The resettlement of Ile de Jean Charles, a $48 million project under this initiative, will help the state create a national model for community resettlement. And so this idea about communities needing to resettle, that isn't just something way off in the future. We're actually doing that right now in Louisiana. With our partners at the Foundation for Louisiana, we are actively developing local, economic, and environmental partners to work towards addressing challenges and developing community-driven solutions to respond to these resiliency efforts. These challenges are some of the greatest ever faced in the history of our state, but the only way to confront them is head-on. The LA-SAFE planning process has been designed to be a multi-factored, inclusive process that is equitable. It addresses things such as literacy rates, language barriers, and the technical nature of information so that residents most affected by coastal land change can be involved in designing the methods by which they'd like to adapt. The coastal and environmental management program in southeast Louisiana will not only protect billions of dollars worth of economic assets, jobs, and economic productivity, but also create a new job sector. And our need for resilience certainly does not stop in the coastal areas of our state. As the flooding in March and August of last year showed so clearly, we face multiple risks and need to be prepared for all of them. Indeed, if you just look at the floods from March and August, 56 of our 64 parishes were declared major federal disasters in that time period. 56 out of 64. And 85% of our state's population live in those 56 parishes. We also know that we have to look at flooding holistically, because there's going to be an interaction between storm surge flooding and riverine flooding. And so as we study our floodplains across the state of Louisiana and come up with our best strategies, we have to make sure that we're taking all of that into consideration. Investments in resilience building activities are anticipated to create a 23% surge in job growth in the water management sector, with an average wage that exceeds $50,000 per year and includes both middle and high-skilled job opportunities. Now, this job growth is going to put Louisiana residents to work. It will diversify our economy and position Louisiana to export this unique knowledge base nationally and internationally. And I will tell you, as a state that is still too dependent upon the hydrocarbon markets, any opportunity that we have to diversify our economy and create new jobs is an opportunity that we have to take advantage of. So the reality is, we are all in this together. These are Louisiana's communities, Louisiana's cultural resources, and it's our job to protect them. And nationally, I can tell you that Louisiana plays a significant part in the national economy. When you look at navigation, fisheries, hydrocarbons, look at the unique history that we have here in Louisiana and our culture. So it's not just important to us here in Louisiana, but I would argue it's very important for the nation as a whole that we get this right. So we look forward to growing our effort in partnership with other allies, including the Greater New Orleans Foundation, national philanthropies, and other state agencies and potential investors. And I ask everybody in the room today to consider new ideas, to be bold, be open to taking the necessary steps to build more resilient communities, not just in Louisiana, but around the world. The sea level isn't just rising here. Subsidence isn't just a problem here. Coastal erosion is not just a problem in Louisiana. I additionally ask all of you to get involved by visiting lasafe.la.gov for more information and to stay involved as we move forward. And finally, I want to stop where I started, and that is just to thank you for being here, for the commitment you've already shown to resiliency. And I would ask you to partner with the state of Louisiana, because while we certainly have more than our fair share of challenges, every challenge that has presented itself in the 14 months that I've been governor has also been an opportunity. And that is true around our resiliency efforts too. So thank you, God bless. It is not Mardi Gras, but go out there and have a good time. Thank you very much.